Welcome to the THRIVERY Podcast, the show that explores elevated living. I'm your host, Jacy Ángelle Smith, and in this community, we engage in conversations to inspire you to flourish in all aspects of your life, because you weren't created to merely survive. You were designed to thrive. Welcome, everyone, to the THRIVERY Podcast. I'm Jacy Ángelle Smith, your host. And today is episode 11 of season 2. And before we get started, I actually wanted to say that today we're going to be talking about some subjects that could be triggering to some people, some topics that may come up, things like domestic violence, gun violence, other sensitive subjects. But I wanted to just put that out there so that you knew ahead of time, because it can be triggering for some people. But I have to tell you that I probably will get emotional in this episode. I was able to meet with my friend. This is going to be my friend for life. And I have to say, her story is so inspiring. She is a walking miracle. There are so many miracles actually in her story, and you're going to be so inspired by her. She is an absolute treasure. You're not going to believe her story. Before we get into the conversation, I want to introduce you to my guest today. Let me read a little bit about her so that you can get to know her. I am actually deeply, deeply honored to have her on today. Her name is Ashley Van Hemert, and she's a living miracle, like I said, and you will see that for yourself too. She has a story of survival, forgiveness, and resilience that is going to inspire all of us. On January 6th of 2018, Ashley's life changed forever when her roommate's ex broke into their Belgrade, Montana home, tragically taking the life of her roommate, Lauren, and shooting Ashley multiple times, leaving her for dead. So hard to believe. Against all odds, Ashley survived nearly 11 hours, by the way, 11 hours before being found. Her body was clinging to life in a scene captured by police body cams. A moment of raw vulnerability later shared with the world through 2020 and the Discovery Channel. But Ashley's story isn't defined by that night. That's what I love so much about this. It's defined by her incredible journey since. With a heart full of gratitude and a spirit that radiates life, Ashley embodies what it means to thrive. Join me, everyone, in welcoming my guest, Ashley Van Hemert, to the show. Welcome, Ashley.
Oh, thank you so much, Jacy. I feel just so honored to be here, and I'm so excited to share just what God's done in me and through my journey.
Absolutely. He's done quite a bit. I learned about your story watching 2020. I watched 2020, and I was so affected by your story. It was something that it just wouldn't leave me. And I remember thinking, I have to find this woman. I have to find this woman and talk to her. We've been able to connect. I've had the pleasure of getting to know you a little bit. We had such a good time together. I felt like an instant connection to you. We were
very much
definitely
so.
friends by the end of the conversation.
Yeah, I couldn't believe it. We almost talked for 2 hours that first time.
We did.
And I was like, my goodness.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We could have talked longer. And you actually
so
had
fast.
to tell me to get into this conversation because I just wanted to catch up with you. It's so true. We definitely connected. And I just, watching that episode on 2020 and being so affected by it, I loved you then, but just being able to talk with you and get to know you and call you friend, I've found this new, deeper appreciation for the woman that you are. You're an incredible woman, a walking miracle, like I said.
Yeah, very much so, yes.
You are. So thank you for being here. We are going to talk about a lot of things. We're going to talk about what happened. And I want to bring listeners back to the beginning of this story in your life and what happened. So let's just dive into this and talk about really what happened. But
I want to back up a little bit further from the actual event, the night of the event, because something actually happened. What was it, a few weeks before or a week before?
Yeah, it was a couple weeks before.
Was it really?
Yeah.
So I think that you and your friend, you were living with two other women.
Yes.
Lauren, and is it Audria, I believe was her name? So
yeah, she owned the
living.
house. Yep.
Okay. So this was back in 2018. You girls were living together, and one of your roommates, Lauren, was going through a divorce.
Yes.
And you mentioned this unsettling incident that happened just a little bit before the actual tragedy, the event that happened. Can you tell us what happened that night whenever you first had this encounter, if you will, this occurrence that happened?
Yeah. So it was probably around midnight, and I used to be a night owl. So I was still awake. All the bedrooms were upstairs. And so I was upstairs just doing some stuff in my bedroom, and all of a sudden I hear like this knocking, but it's not just like a normal like knock, it's like pretty loud. And I was like, oh, well, that's weird. Well, whoever it is will know, nobody's obviously here, and they'll just leave. Well, they just kept knocking and knocking. So I was like, well, this is really weird. So I went downstairs to check it out. And Lauren was in the living room, and she went, shh, because she didn't want the person to know that anybody was home. And so the shades were drawn. And so we just stood there for a little bit. And she was like, I know it's Paul, but I don't want him to know anybody is here. So we just stood there for a little bit and just talked. And I said, well, why don't we go upstairs? So we went upstairs in the hallway. And I told her I was like, well, we can call the cops. And she was like very adamant, like, no, like he'll leave. And well, obviously he did leave after not too much longer. Yes, that's what happened.
And when you look back now at that moment, how did it make you feel about your safety? Did it hint that there was any danger to come?
No, it didn't hint like any danger. I was just like, I felt a little like unsettling going to bed just because like, how weird is that, like they just stayed there, and they wouldn't leave right away. But I was like, okay, well, just like weirdo, just really wondering if anybody's home or if they'll answer the door. And so, yeah, I didn't think much after that.
Wow. Okay, so now I want to fast forward just a bit to the actual night that this happened. It's a story that it's just an incredible survivor story. But honestly, here we are we're on the THRIVERY Podcast, and I have to say, if anyone is a thriver, it is you. So you're the thriver here. And if we go back to that night, it's January 2018. Talk to me about what happened earlier that night. What was going on with you?
Okay. So that evening, I actually went to Livingston with a gentleman that I was seeing like off and on. We went to Livingston that night and hung out with some people, and then we went home, and he brought me to my house. And the last thing I remember is closing the door to my house and locking the door. And then after that, everything is gone. Yeah.
Wow.
Until I woke up in the hospital.
Yeah, let's talk about this. And I know this is it's unbelievable for me to even say these words, to even talk about this. I can't imagine what it feels like for you, but for the listeners to understand the severity of what happened that night in January of 2018, Paul, this man that you had just heard about just a bit earlier, he broke into your home. He shot you multiple times, leaving you for dead. And then he shot and killed Lauren.
Yeah.
So tragic.
Yeah.
So tragic. And you've shared that you don't remember this event itself. It was like your brain, I think you showed me, your brain was protecting you. I believe that's true.
Yeah.
But
Very
can you
much so.
walk us through what you now know that happened, after the investigation? What actually occurred that night? Because you have no recollection after being dropped off at home, right?
Yes, correct. And the only reason why we know exactly what happened is because he brought his 15-year-old son with him that night. And he was Lauren's stepson. Yes. Yep. So, exactly what happened was he didn't know which room she was in. And even though she was the target, I guess you could say, so he came into my room first, and I was ready for bed, and I was walking over to my bed. So he turned the light on, and I turned around and I asked him who he was, not very nicely. And then he said the same thing to me, and even not a nicer way. And that's when I saw the 22 pistol. And like today, I say I needed a literal shield, but I only had my hand. And so I turned around, and he got me smack in the back of the head. And then the other one that was really bad is he got me in the carotid artery, kind of went in and out somewhere here. But the miracle is it literally plugged the hole perfectly. And that's why I didn't bleed to death that night. The doctor told my family if it would have landed even millimeters, I would have bled to death that night, which is such a miracle because I moved around in my room a lot. Like I went over to my bed. I had a little couch in there that was my grandma's. My dog's dog bed, he wasn't there that night, but, there's blood all over that. And then even in the dog bowl, his dog bowl, which is actually what got me the most in the 2020 episode of the body cam, is when I saw that his dog bowl was just all red, because I was just like, just a couple days ago, like that was just your water and you were drinking from it. So, it might seem odd, but out of all the body cam, I was just like, that like kind of got me the most. But the bullet, in the back of the head, obviously was a instant, brain injury, obviously. But because of the bullet that got me in the right carotid artery, it stopped all the blood going to the right side of my brain. And so I had already had a massive stroke before the officers got there the next morning. Because you could see me, my left arm was all kinked up, and I couldn't see anything. And I kept at the first thing I said to them was, please don't shoot me.
Yes, I remember that. I remember that. That's what I couldn't believe the amount of footage that they had. And I think that's why it was I was so drawn into your story immediately. I just couldn't believe that they had all of this footage. And I just remember seeing them walk into the home, walk upstairs, and they're, yelling out loud, please. And you're saying, please don't shoot me, please help me. And we see you lying on the floor and you're speaking to them after just being shot multiple times, lying there for 11 hours. You're seeing the scene that you just described, blood everywhere. And I mean, I could not believe what I was seeing. And, you were speaking to them, they were talking to you, and you're right. It was such a scene of, at least for me viewing that, it was absolutely unbelievable and a tragic, tragic event. I'm thankful that you don't remember. I'm really thankful that your brain protected you from all of that. I just think about you, moving around for 11 hours by yourself. It literally breaks my heart. And
the crazy thing is, I didn't know what was going on at all, because they asked me why I was bleeding, and I was telling them I'm not bleeding. I'm not bleeding.
Right.
Well,
I remember.
Clearly, there's just blood all over me, you know?
Yeah.
And, and I couldn't see. They asked me if I could see them, but the only thing I kept asking was, like, how do I know you're the police? Like, how do I know that, you're going to help me, and stuff.
Right.
And then the other part that I actually thought was funny when I watched the 2020 episode was I refused to go to the hospital.
Yes.
They were like, okay, we have to take you to the hospital. And I was like, no, I refuse. And like after the whole incident, I wonder if it's because I couldn't help being shot. And so I wonder if my brain immediately went to just this is something I can control. And so, don't bring me. Yeah.
Right. I remember seeing that. It was just proof that you did not know what had happened and the severity of the scene and
exactly.
your state. And I just remember seeing all of that footage, and Ashley, it just touched me so deeply to see already the survivor in you, but also to come and we'll learn more about your story and you, the thriver that you are, and just your outlook on life. It's so inspiring. I remember seeing that one of the officers actually rode with you, right, in the ambulance to the hospital, which I thought was really special and thoughtful and sweet to see that. So when you woke up in the hospital, You were starting to piece things together. I'm sure it had to be emotional. I can't imagine what that felt like for you, waking up and realizing the gravity of what had happened to you. What was that like?
It's actually interesting because it actually even started before I woke up, because my family would talk to me and stuff and tell me what happened. And then Ralph also came in and he was holding my hand and he told me what happened. And then he told me that Lauren had passed away. And I squeezed his hand when he told me that. And I didn't realize that, obviously, in the moment, but it's just like just goes to show, like I could hear and, I must have had emotion even then. And so that was quite, quite interesting when I learned that, that I did that. I mean, as far as like the emotions go, it wasn't like, at first, it wasn't like that emotional, because it was just like learning how to do life all over again, because I'd had that massive stroke. So I could only use my right arm, my right side. So yeah, the first time I really remember having that much emotion it was really hard for me. Like, I didn't want to eat at all. Like, they tried even giving me this medication that tasted absolutely awful. And that didn't help either. And I remember my sister coming in to the room, and she was crying, and she sat down beside me, and she said that if I didn't start eating, then I was going to have to get a tube put in my stomach again. And did I want that? And I said through my tears, no, I don't want that. So that was kind of the start of my eating journey again. And, well, you don't have to tell me to eat anymore. That is for sure. But, so that was like the first time I was emotional. But yeah, other than that, like, it was just like learning how to live again. So the emotions really didn't come till kind of a little bit later down the road.
I'm sure. And you were in the hospital for a significant amount of time. And you mentioned that in the beginning, weren't you communicating like through a pillow with your family, or somehow through a pillow? And it was and here's what really got me. When you and I were talking before on the pre-interview, you were telling me about this, and you were sharing that one of the first things that you communicated, or I think it was the first thing that you communicated to them, was about forgiveness. Wow. Can you please talk to us about that? Share what happened.
So the first way I would communicate is I would write letters on a pillow, and then my family would tell me that letter. And if it was right, I would give a thumbs up. And if it was wrong, I would go sideways. Why not down? I don't know. But the first thing I wrote down was forgive the man.
Wow.
And so it was just like amazing to me, because like I don't remember doing that. So that was the solely the Holy Spirit, just working through me, like no matter what happens to me, like he needs forgiveness just like we all do. So So
as I said in the beginning, you're a walking miracle, but what I believe listeners are going to hear and find in this conversation is that there are many miracles in your story. This being one of them. I mean, so you were shot multiple times, left for dead, you lived. Miracle. Miracle. Now, one of the first things that you do when you wake up is communicate to your family about forgiving him. Miracle. I don't know too many people that would have been able to get there that quickly. And I know that you say it was the Holy Spirit, and it does seem very supernatural, I can tell you. To be able to get to that place, it's amazing. It's unbelievable.
I don't remember writing it on the pillow, but I do remember I went to Craig for inpatient. And I do remember getting brought back to my room after one of my therapies. And I was just sitting by myself. And that's just when the Holy Spirit came upon me and told me that I just needed to forgive him and start praying for his soul, because, I mean, this earth passes away so fast, but eternity truly is forever, which, I mean, we can't even comprehend eternity, but I don't think we're supposed to, you know? And, the only thing that truly is important in this world is just sharing God's love and, just the power of forgiveness. And speaking of forgiveness, when you forgive somebody, I truly believe that it's first for yourself. So you don't stay bitter, you don't stay angry, so you can move on. your life, and live a happy life, and then second, it's for the other person, the perpetrator, the person that hurt you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. That's so beautiful. I mean, just to hear you share that is, to me, it just lifts my spirits, that you can get to this and you have this perspective after what you've been through. It kind of makes me feel like some of the really trivial things in my life and things that I hold on to that really I shouldn't. It sort of puts things into perspective a little bit. Thank you for sharing that. That's just, it's so huge. It's so much bigger than I think we even understand. And
it even put things into perspective for me after, it's like, okay, the things of the world that I thought was important before really is not, it's, yeah, very much so. Yeah. I've learned even so much more out of this than I ever thought that I, would or could.
I'm sure. Yeah. And you talked a little bit about the emotional impact and even spiritually. And I want to talk now just a little bit about the physical impact. You endured multiple surgeries. I'm sure that had to be overwhelming, especially the severity of them. And, I'm just thinking about the bullet that plugged your carotid artery. And, how did you find strength to endure this pain? Because I'm sure that it was painful physically too. On every level, it was painful, but physically too. And even uncertainty, I'm sure, at the time. How did you find your strength to endure this pain and this uncertainty to move forward in your healing process?
Yeah, well, with the surgery, the first one that they did was they took out the bullet from my neck, which obviously I had no say in that. I was just, quote, dead to the world, like they just had to do that. And then, so I don't really have that much blood anymore going up from the right side. It's mostly all from the left side now. They they cut off the artery. They like stitched it up. So I have a scar actually that you can see. Yeah. And then it wasn't too long after that, a couple days after that, my brain started swelling really bad. So they had to do an emergency right craniotomy. So they actually took out part of my right skull and they froze it for it was like 3 months, I think. Yeah.
Really?
Yep. So while my skull was out, they actually had me wear this helmet because if I would have fallen, I had nothing to protect my brain.
Right.
Yep. So there was that. But it was just kind of like, like I was so early on in my recovery. It was just like, okay, like, this is how it is. Like these things had to be done with me. And now I have to, to start to learn how to live my new life.
Right.
In this new body. Yeah. So it was.
Okay. I have to just say that I see Bronson in the background. That's your beloved Bronson, that sweet boy.
Yep. He's laying on the couch. Yes. We've been together since he was 10 months old.
Wow.
And he's literally like my biggest protector now. Whenever somebody knocks on the door, he's always the first one there to make sure they are okay to come in, because he sees me and he's like, well, you can't do anything for yourself. You can't protect yourself. So, and he's almost 13 too.
Wow.
He is an old boy. He's a husky Malamute. Yes.
He's been with you a while, and he wasn't there that night.
At Ralph's place that night, because Ralph also had a dog and they were good friends. So I was like, all right, well, he was just there hanging out with his dog while we were gone. And then I thought, well, I'll just see him tomorrow, so I'll just leave him there. So, yeah.
Oh my goodness.
But one of the things I just love is that Saturday I actually went for a run, which looking back, like I'm so thankful that I did that, because I can remember, like, I know what it's like to run, like I know the emotions, I know, I can see it in my mind, it's like my body just isn't ready yet, but I believe, and I'll be praying, till my last breath for God to completely restore me. And, I promised him I won't go back to that life, that I was doing before. Like, I know that there's a better way now, and I'm just here to do his work, whatever he brings to me. And I've been so thankful that, I've been able to share my story on different platforms, so far. And that's just my hope, is that, I can just keep doing that,
I know that you will.
Amazing people like you just keep reaching out to me and, let me continue, sharing my story, because like I've said, since I've gotten injured, I mean, if my story can help even one person from not going to hell, like, isn't that what it's about? That's what it's about, you know? And so it's not about me. It's not that I can run and jump and use my left arm, but speaking of crying, but it's about, yeah, it's all about Jesus now. Like it truly is. And
So touching.
that's just my hope now, you know? I mean, there's so much hate in the world. There's so much just disgust and war and everything going on, you know? It's
Yes.
like, where did the kindness go? Where did the love go, you know, for people? Like, we're all humans. We all need love. We all need kindness, you know? We need God back in the world again. How do we do that? And I think it's, you know, it's one person at a time, one story at a time. Like, everybody has a story. It's different than mine. It's different than yours. But don't compare your story to anybody else. Like, if you share your story, you can help people, whether you think so or not. Like, there will be somebody that can connect with you, and you can help somebody in their worst pain.
I believe that. I believe that. That's really one of the reasons why I do this podcast is I believe we all have a story to tell. And I believe that, you know, when we share our stories, number one, we realize that we're not all so different. You know, sometimes we can feel isolated and so alone and different, but I think when we actually start telling our stories, it can help unlock things for us and for others. And I want to thank you again. Thank you for sharing your story because you know what? You didn't have to. You could have chosen to retreat, not talk about it. You know, I can imagine a lot of things that you could have done instead, but that's what I love so much about you is I just love your heart. I love your heart that this is out of this tragedy. You can sit here and say this to us. You can share this with us with conviction. I know you mean all of this. And it is, to me, it's supernatural, but it just shows me so much of just the gift that you are. And I am honored to have you on this show. And I know that this isn't your first time to be sharing your story. And I know it's not even close to being the last time. And so thank you again for just being here to share your story. I know so many people are going to be so inspired.
Yeah. Well, I kind of feel like the good Lord saved my life in two ways. I mean, obviously, literally, you know, but then also I feel like he was like, okay, this is like your second chance. Like, I kind of feel like, I do. I feel like I am on borrowed time now. So what am I going to do with the rest of the time on earth that the Lord has given me? And when I meet him one day, I want him to look at me and actually be able to tell me, you did good, you know, my good and faithful servant, you know. I mean, if you hear that at the end of your life, you know you're going to be with Jesus for eternity. I mean, it makes everything else in life just so minute and not important, you know. Look at the world, you know, people chase after money and fame and, you know, they hang on to all that stuff, you know, for what? What good? You don't take any of it with you when you die. What are people going to say about you when you die? What's your legacy going to be? I mean, that's what people should be running after. Yeah.
Absolutely. Legacy is something that I find myself really thinking about more these days, talking about more these days, because it does matter. What am I leaving behind? What does my life speak? And
exactly,
so,
yes.
Thank you for sharing that. I
Not
think it's
just what you say, because, I mean, as we know, actions are so much more than words, you know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you're not just talking the talk, you're walking the walk. And it's just thrilling to be in this space with you and to hear you share this. I got to hear it, obviously. Well, I got to see it. I actually had to watch 2020 twice because it was so impactful, but just it affected me so much. I felt like I had to process through all of that in a way that just, I was compelled. I guess is the best way to put it. What does it feel like for you? You know, I talked about the body cams and how it just affected me deeply and I couldn't get you out of my mind. What does it feel like for you being the person who was so vulnerable and being filmed and, you know, on television? Does that affect you? Or how does it feel knowing that people saw you at your most vulnerable?
I was just fine with it because today on any social platform, people only show their best moments. You know, you don't show people when you're having a hard day or, you know, when life sucks. It's always like, oh, here's my highlight reel.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for people to see me in that kind of state, it's like, this is real life. These types of things can happen. And if I would have known, obviously, what was going to happen, I would have, lived differently. I would have, just done things, different. So, what I just want to, really tell people is, I don't believe that we take our bodies for granted, because the Lord made us so we could run and, do activities and, our brains, function the right way,
Yeah.
But as in my case, I mean, you never know when tragedy can strike. So just always remember how blessed you are.
Absolutely.
And if you are like me and you have a body that's been compromised, I understand. I see you. Just wake up every day and just ask God to give you strength for another day. And you are stronger than you think. One of my brothers, Terrell, I'm actually the oldest of 8 children.
Okay.
So I have 6 brothers and 1 sister. But one of my brothers made some bracelets and they say, you are stronger than you think. And
so good.
that is so true. I mean, when you, at your lowest, when at the worst, and you don't think you can keep going, just remember you are stronger than you think. You can keep going no matter what's happening in your life. Just keep on moving. You can do it. You can get through anything that you're going through.
It really puts me in check. It makes me think about what really matters and having my priorities in the right place. I mean, you were an active person. I think it was one of the reasons maybe that you moved to Montana. You were you were all about the outdoors.
Yeah.
And then this happens. This tragedy happens. You were talking about even going for a run that morning. And then now you find yourself in a position where you're not able to enjoy the things like you used to be able to enjoy the things. I know it's been a long road. It's ongoing, but it's involved therapies like electrical stimulation to help you walk. I mean, you have to learn how to walk, to eat, to all of it, right? And even, I'm sure you had to learn everything over, but can you talk to us about maybe what was one of the most challenging parts of relearning how to move your body and make it function again? And how has your family support, and even Bronson, how have you found them to bring courage into your life a little bit more and help you through these things?
Yeah. First of all, I would literally not be here if it was not for the love of my family.
Yeah, I believe
literally, yes. I mean, you don't realize how much you need your family until you need them. If you don't have them, then you don't have anybody. And they were there for me unconditionally through everything, and they still are to this day. But when I was in the hospital, they would, every single night before they would leave, they would get in a circle and they would, just pray. And just knowing just the power of that, I remember very vividly, I would be in my hospital bed and my brother Terrell, he would play the guitar and he would sing songs to me. And one of them, I have it written down so I can say it right, is, you are God of the miracles. You're the God of the impossible. You're the God who hears our cries. You're the God who can empathize. So bring life, bring hope, bring restoration to my sister's life. And it was just I would just lay there and I would just put my arm up and just praise with him, sing and, just the faith that he had and just the love for me, my mom was there a lot as well. She only went home. She had to go home only twice. One of them was when one of my younger brothers graduated high school. But yeah, so she was there through talk about the ugly. She was always there. It was just absolutely just amazing.
Yes.
And then my youngest brother, Aaron, just even looking back and just knowing, that he saw his sister like that, it was just takes my breath away, And I mean, this is an instance. You don't have to hide your life. You don't have to show everything of who you are to the world. The people who care about you will accept you. And it's good to be real and be raw. And because what you're going through, somebody can relate to you. Obviously, probably not on the exact same terms, exactly what happened, but I mean, we're all connected in some way, and everybody goes through hard times sometime in your life. You might not be now, or maybe you have in the past, but if not, then there will be hard times in your future. And just how are you going to go about that? And are you going to just hide away in a hole? Or are you just going to say, you know, no matter what happens, I can keep going and I can still live a happy life and be successful, like regardless of, you know, what's happened to me. So, yes.
Incredible. Yep. Resilience too, girl.
Yes.
I'm just sitting here and I'm listening to you. First of all, you know, your family, I know they were a big part. We got to see them in 2020, or I got to watch them.
Yeah.
A couple of them were in that TV program. And I know that was a huge part. And it just really touches me so deeply. I was tearing up again when you were reading what your brother wrote. And I just thought, you know, you had people that were speaking life over you.
Yes.
That's what you had. You had people speaking life over you and believing when it may have been really hard for you. And, you know, just speaking that and singing that over you. I really am a firm believer that words matter. And
Oh,
what
very
we
much
speak,
so.
we give
Yes.
life to. And
Yes.
so what a gift to have your family around you, rallying, but also believing. And I know that for me, my family, you know, being with me, for me, supporting me and with me in the hard times makes all of the difference. So I know that had to be such a huge part of your recovery for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and they were right with me. The first thing that I started doing when I started to learn to walk again is they would put me in literally what looked like a spacesuit. And then they would hook me up to this machine on the treadmill, and it did all of the walking for me. But I just had to think about, you know, every time my left leg moved, you know, I just had to concentrate on trying to, you know, just lift my leg up. Wow. And the first, not brace, the first contraption, I guess I should say, that I had when I started walking again was called a knee, ankle, foot orthotic. So it was this massive brace that started at the top of my left hip, and it went all the way down under my foot. Yeah. But it was so big that my hip had to go out to the side in order to take a step. Yeah. But thankfully I didn't need that for very long because my hamstring was actually decently strong. So then they were able to go down to what's just called a ankle foot orthotic. So it started at the bottom of my knee and it went under my foot. So that's how I was really learned how to walk again. I reached a big goal before I left because when I left Craig, I left outpatient in September of that year. And I actually went back to Sioux Falls, South Dakota, into the home that I grew up in. Wow, and I still had my two youngest brothers were still in the home. Okay. Yep, going to school. So I was there and I did therapy for another 2 years there. But one of my biggest goals was I wanted to be able to walk stairs. Okay. Because my bedroom was going to be in the basement. And if I wasn't able to do stairs, then I was going to have to get a lift. And I was like, no, that is not going to happen. So I was able to reach that goal before I left so I could walk the stairs. So that was a huge, huge thing for me for sure. Yes. Yeah. And then after I got home, that next year is when I purchased this is called a Bioness. Okay. And tell us about that. It's electrical stimulation. And so in essence, it acts as my muscle to bring my foot up. So it goes right under my left knee and I have to start the step and then it activates and it picks my foot up for me. So that was a huge, huge blessing that I was able to get that just because, you know, I was so active before. And I mean, I definitely walk, what would you call it? Very differently. That's not the word I'm looking for. It looks very, anyways, not normal, but I'm like, you know, at least I can walk and I can live on my own, which is a huge, huge blessing, you know, and I can provide for myself and amazing. I can work. So, you know, it's just absolutely more miracles. I mean, yes, you are living independently and you are working and you're going to therapy still. I mean, you are living. It's just miracle upon miracle, friend. It really, really is. It's incredible to even think about. And him in the background here, Bronson, he was Oh my goodness. Just the love, the unconditional love that animals have. I mean, I couldn't, obviously run or anything like that, but I purchased a scooter when I lived in Sioux Falls because I can't drive because the bullet that got me in the back of the head got my vision cord.
Wow.
And so I could no longer see peripherally out of my left eye. And so I kind of figured, somebody tried to kill me. So if I would get out on the road, I mean, that would just be disaster, So, I mean,
what are the effects, the residual effects that you live with every day? You've learned to do so many things again, but what are the things that you are still working through today that you have ongoing therapy for?
Well, I mean, it's always like, I feel like my life now is just a continual, therapy almost, I mean, I'm obviously a lot slower, than I used to be. I need a lot more contraptions and things to, get through life. I mean, like, for example, I can't stand up anymore to do showers. So, I have a shower chair.
Okay.
Like I said, I have my, my Bioness. And since my left hand can't work, I have to have like different things like for cooking.
Right.
Different like tools and stuff. And I've also since cleaning is, pretty difficult for me just because it takes me so long.
Sure.
I have people come in and help me clean.
Yeah, that's good.
But yeah, so yeah, that's just like a few of the things, yeah. And my shoes now, I can't tie my shoelaces, so I have to have a contraption. It's called like a boa system. So you just push in a little knob, and then you twist it, and that will tighten your shoes for you. So
really,
yeah.
I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yep, I didn't either until I had to.
Yeah, incredible.
Yeah. So
Incredible.
all the little things that aren't actually quite so little, once you actually need it,
You're right. That's what I was just thinking. Like, you don't know until you know. Do you have to know?
Yeah, exactly. Yep. So yeah, I did therapy until last year, until about September. And then I was like, you know what? I think I'll just try to, do things, on my own right now and just see if, I can keep it up and stuff.
Yeah.
But that's another lesson I've learned is I've started taking actually the body that I have now for granted. Like, oh, okay, well, this is just how I am, like, oh, look at me, But it's like, no, like, I have to tell myself, you only get one body. So I need to actually start taking it seriously of, get as strong as I can and just really trying to just stay that way. Because if I don't, then I eventually wouldn't be able to live on my own.
Yeah.
So,
a good reminder for us all. Again, like what we speak matters.
Exactly.
We should be speaking life over ourselves. And sometimes we have to do that for ourselves.
Exactly.
So it's a great reminder. Okay, I want to shift gears. It may feel like we're going backwards, but you mentioned earlier that Paul brought his 15-year-old son to this tragic event. He brought him knowing what he came to do. What was that like for you to learn that he brought his own son to this horrific crime?
Really just sadness. And just the narcissist, that he is. He just didn't want to do it by himself. And he actually tried to blame it on his son as well, which is even to a whole new level, It
is a whole new level.
It's like, if you want to do this, okay, but, at least just do it on your own, But one thing that I really liked was I actually got to meet his son and his daughter at the trial. And I gave him a big hug and, of course, bawling. And I just wanted to make sure they knew that this was not their fault, that their father made this choice and, that they should not be hold any guilt at all. How often anymore in these days people will do an action or, do something and just try to justify it. Oh, well, I did it because of X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
You know what? No, that's not right. You did it. You chose to do it. And whatever happens to you or the consequences is because of you. It's on you. You should not blame anybody else for your actions.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, that was awesome. I got to meet him and then he also had an older sister.
Okay.
too. So I got to meet her.
How was that? What was that like for you, and how did they respond to you? What was that like for them, as much as you can tell?
Oh, it was very, very warming. Like, I
Yeah.
could tell, they knew, that I was not mad at them at all, that I welcomed them. And, I prayed with them, and, I continue still praying for them, just hoping that they're, moved on, and, they can just live a successful life. And
I mean, you really, that act right there, I think is so much bigger than maybe you even know. I can imagine if I put myself in their shoes, what it would feel like. Of course, I don't know, but if I try to put myself in their shoes, that would feel like such a release, or, because before that, who knows what they felt as they were carrying that. So what a gift. That was a gift that you gave them, that you didn't have to, but that you did give them. And I'm sure that it changed their life. Really, I believe that. Wow. Okay. Another miracle. That's another miracle. I have another one for you. What was it, a week or two? Maybe I'm completely off, but I know that it was a very short time frame that the murder weapon was found, and the weapon used to shoot you was found. Miracle because of how it was found. Do you want to share this? I could not believe this. This is a miracle for sure.
Yeah, so after Paul committed the crime, he told his son to get rid of the gun. Well, he went over to a park and just threw it on a pond. Well, consequently, the next day, there was a couple that was ice fishing, and they went to that pond, and the lady found the gun, and she thought at first that it was just lost. Somebody lost it, so she just kept it for a little bit. Well, then she heard about the murder, and so she was like, okay, well, I should probably bring this to the police. And that was the gun. So it was just like, wow,
Wow.
Yep.
Were you aware of all this? Like this is probably too early for you because you were probably going through all the surgeries and stuff, but I'm sure at some point you found this out. Could you believe that? I mean, it feels very miraculous.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, what an idiot. Like, here, son, go get rid of this. Like, that I just, he didn't tell him where to put it, or, anything like that. Like, what's a kid gonna do?
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I'm very happy, obviously, for his idiotic actions there. The fact that the exact gun was found is just,
And
it was just like mind-blowing. It was perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
It was just one more piece of evidence against
him. It really
him.
was. And because of that piece of evidence, it helped convict him eventually. So Paul was convicted of the crimes that he committed. And tell us what that was like, because here's another miracle. This is a miraculous part of your story. This gripped me. The whole story grips me, but this, I get choked up every time I think about it, talking about it. When he was convicted, you were able to give a victim impact statement. And this was on 2020, a little part of it. So I got to watch it, and my heart was so drawn to you. I there was not a dry eye in the room. I was watching it with some people, and you're up there and you're speaking, and you have this opportunity to face this person. Was this the first time that you had actually faced him, by the way?
No. Well, I faced him at the trial.
Okay, you were at the trial, right.
Yep. But
okay,
I don't remember anything at all. So I was just there because the prosecutor wanted the jury just to see how much my life was affected.
Right.
And, the person that I was before. Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. Yep. So you got to see him, but in this moment, you got to get up on the stand. You got to address him directly.
Yeah.
And say whatever you want. And the court, you could say whatever you wanted. And I don't actually want to say this, because I want you to share with the listeners what you chose to say and do in this moment, which is a miracle.
Yeah, it was. So this was at the sentencing, and I actually brought him a Bible, and I got up on the stand, and I was actually very happy because he looked me in the eyes, and I just simply told him, that I forgave him. And yeah, pretty much just like I forgive him. And then I wrote a poem in the Bible, and it goes, "The night was quiet, all was calm. We were just there sleeping in our home. Then you broke in, the shots rang out. You killed Lauren and left me there for dead. By the grace of God, I survived and lived to be a testimony. When people ask me what they can pray for, I say for my body, your children, and your soul. This life is short, eternity is forever, and you need Jesus more than my body whole. I'm praying for you to sit at his feet, to bow down before the only King of Kings. Lord, will you rescue this man's soul while he sits all alone on his prison floor? You've caused so much hurt, you've caused so much pain. I could sit here wishing you'd only find your grave. I could sit here in anger, I could sit here in hate, I could sit here wishing you'd have no other way. But I'm praying for you to sit at his feet, to bow down before the only King of Kings. Lord, will you rescue this man's soul to show him you're the way, the truth, and the life, while he sits all alone on his prison floor. If God can forgive me an unlimited amount of times, then how can I withhold forgiveness from you, Paul? If God can forgive me an unlimited amount of times, then how can I withhold forgiveness from you, Paul? If God can forgive me an unlimited amount of times, then how can I withhold forgiveness from you, Paul? I'm praying for you to sit at his feet, to bow down before the only King of Kings. Lord, will you rescue this man's soul to show him you're the way, the truth, and the life, while you sit all alone on your prison floor. So I said that, and then the next thing I did, I know had to be the Holy Spirit because I didn't even think about it. So I got off of the stand, and where he was sitting, we looked at each other in the eyes, and I said one more time, Paul, I forgive you. And in that moment, I could tell, I knew that he had emotion because his eyes started to swell with tears. And I kind of feel like maybe that was the first moment he was kind of brought down to earth, and he was like, oh, wow, look what I actually did. Like, these were my actions, and, you know, like her life was, you know, totally affected. Just seeing that he had emotion was like enough for me, you know? I feel like it showed me, I feel like psychopaths don't have emotion. You know, they don't have any, you know, sort of like feelings like on that. Like they just do something and they're just like, whatever. But when I saw that, I felt like he could feel it in his soul that he had completely turned my life upside down. And so that was enough for me to see, you know, for me to be like, okay, you know, I can put this part, you know, of my life behind me and I don't have to think about it anymore. And I can just continue moving on and, you know, getting stronger. Yeah. And he's in jail for the rest of his life. No chance of parole, which is good, I believe. I mean, obviously he shouldn't be out, you know, but I still pray for his soul, you know, because it's the only thing that matters, you know, that he would become my brother in Christ one day. Satan made this person do that, you know. And I think so often we forget that Satan has demons that work for him. You know, Satan doesn't like actually do the work, you know, of, you know, whatever. But it's, you know, he sends out these demons, you know, into people. And I feel like more often we need to be praying against these demons and, you know, going into, you know, if people are having a hard time or they're not doing good, or if they're in addiction or whatever it is. Like we need to be going into homes and speaking life into every room of the house and, you know, telling demons, you know, demons, you are not allowed in here. You know, like I speak the name of Jesus, you know, you need to flee. Yeah. When we do that, like Jesus works through us and, you know, it will happen. I have heard of stories of people speaking against the evil and it has worked and people's, you know, lives have just been completely just turned around, you know, like we don't realize the power that we have with Jesus. You know, if we're Christians, we have the Holy Spirit in us and we are strong and we need to act in that strength, you know?
Well, I didn't remember to have my Kleenex, my tissues here. And thank goodness you were talking because I'm like wiping tears away. And I don't want to make light of this at all because it is absolutely profound. I'm just sitting here listening. We only got a snapshot of that poem on 2020. And so this was the first time that I've actually gotten to hear that your full poem and all that you have to say and the perspective that you have. Unbelievable, friend. I'm so blessed to know you and to hear your story and to know not just what happened, but what you've done since what happened, because that's what really matters. And I don't know how, except through God, that you were able to forgive him and to say those things to him. Even like when I heard you say, maybe be a brother in Christ one day, I mean, I'm just like, that definitely was not crossing my mind. Just that you can go there, that you can think that about the person who meant to take your life. This heinous crime, it's because of him. I learned so much from you, and I just thank you so much for sharing all of that. How did you compose this? How did you know? Did this just, like, as you're preparing to give this victim impact speech, how did this come about for you? How did you come up with this poem that you wanted to share and to give him a Bible and to forgive him publicly right there to his face? And even again, when you got up, like, did you plan all of this? How did this happen?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I was just at home and I was like, okay, I don't know, everything obviously like about him or anything or, where he's at. But obviously the evil one got him, to do this. And so I was just like, okay, I'm just going to buy him a Bible. I don't know. Like, I didn't think much about it or anything. I just went on Amazon and I was like, okay. And then, I don't know how that poem came to me. I have no idea. That one must have been the Holy Spirit too.
It's incredible.
But yeah.
Incredible.
It just kind of came to me. Yeah.
Yeah. You're incredible.
Yeah. And I kind of see myself as a couple people in the Bible, kind of like Job in a way. Okay. Just because, Satan asked God, he thought if, he took things away from him, like his family and then his health and stuff, that he would turn away from God, and, but he didn't, he just kept praising him. Like, he's like, I don't understand his ways, but, I was still going to praise him. I also kind of feel like Peter, because Satan asked God if he could sift Peter. And, and I feel like that's, like getting all the, just like the bad stuff out of your life, everything that's not supposed to be there. And I also kind of feel like that because before I got injured, I was playing the role of a Christian. I mean, I could go to church, I'd go to church, but after that, after Sunday until the next Sunday, till I walked in those doors, you would not have known that you wouldn't have necessarily have known that I was a Christian. Like, I did not walk my talk at all. And so I feel like, honestly, like, in a way, God gave me a second chance to do it right. This is it's going to be taken away that you can run. And, like, your mind is going to be a little bit different. You're going to have a brain injury, and some things you're just going to forget, or, you're going to start doing something, and then you'll be like, all right, what was I doing again? It's like, but I'm just like, okay, like, a lot of times I get through things with humor now. Like, if I'll, like, do something, or something will happen. Like, I just have to, like, laugh at myself. Because it's like, well, you either laugh or you cry,
Yes.
Which is good for everybody, I think, to know. I mean, yeah. I mean,
you do have a sense of humor.
You can either get pissed off or angry, or you can just look at yourself and just laugh, and just be like, all right, well, I guess I just better just keep going, like, life goes on. So, it's all in your perspective of life. That's very, very true in any situation.
Absolutely. You do have quite the sense of humor, I have to add. I learned that right out of the gate. You had me laughing, and it's just to see you have so much joy is very inspiring. Friend, you are definitely a thriver. I mean, anybody that's listened to this conversation knows that miracle upon miracle, but also your outlook, the joy that you have, you're a gift, you're a treasure. And I want to know, because I ask everyone this question on the show, but what does thriving mean to you?
I think thriving means to me is that you're putting your best foot forward in life. You're doing the absolute best you can do. I mean, if you see somebody, like having a hard time, lend them a helping hand. Thriving isn't just about money and, the things of the world. Thrive to be that person that somebody can come to cry, that shoulder to cry on. If, somebody needs that. You thrive to just be kind to everybody you come in contact with, because you have no idea what somebody's going through. And even just to smile at somebody, that might make their day, I mean, maybe you ask them how they're doing. Maybe they just start sharing things with you, that you never thought they could. Thriving is, just always moving forward in life, what you would like in life. I feel like you're always either moving forward in life or backwards. I don't believe that you're ever stagnant, And the thing I think always to remember is, what do you want people to say about you when you're no longer here? I feel like that alone would make you want to thrive more and just do better in life.
Yes.
Do you want to be remembered as that person that was always there for somebody, like in their hard time, just like, an ear to listen,
Right.
I think that's what, thriving is. Yes.
So good. It's another, you just talked about legacy again. It's how do we want people to remember us? But I love that definition of thriving. And friend, dear heart, you are a thriver. You are definitely thriving. If I have ever known a thriver, that would be you. Thank you for continuing to inspire us all, for taking this tragedy and not letting it just take you over and take you down. Being resilient. Your faith has been a huge cornerstone of your healing journey in your life and your family, I know too. But thank you for not being bitter. Thank you for showing us, being so vulnerable to show us what it looks like to heal. It's messy, but it's real, and how to love and how to forgive. Your story is packed full of miracles. And I am just, like I said in the beginning, I'm just blessed to know you. Thank you so much for being on the show. So before we go, friend, I want to leave, there's a website that you have, and it's something that people can visit if they want to contact you to speak somewhere. But also, you have ongoing therapy in your life, and just to be able to live independently. There are things that you have that cost money, and I want people to be able to support you as well if they choose to. And so I want to make sure that I have this right, but they can go to this website. It's Stan, as in the man's name, S as in Sam, T as in Tom, A as in Apple, N as in Nitro, .store / Ashley Van Hemert. I'm actually going to spell your last name. It's V as in Victor, A-N as in Nancy or Nitro, H-E M as in Mary, E-R-T as in Tom. And that is the website that they can visit if they want to support you or if they want to get in touch with you. Is that right?
Yes. That's great.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Absolutely. And again, thank you, friend. I love you so much. And I'm just excited about the many opportunities that you're going to continue to have to share your story, because it is such an inspiration and you are a gift to all. So thank you so much again for being on the show.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, Jacy.
And thank you, friends, for joining this episode. I hope that you enjoyed it and you walk away feeling inspired, and you look at your life and you can see miracles around you as well.
Thank you for joining us on the THRIVERY Podcast. I hope this discussion inspired you in your pursuit of elevated living. If you enjoyed today's episode, follow us, click the share button and send to friends, and also tag us in your socials. For more information and to stay connected, visit our website at thrivery.life. Thanks again for joining, and we'll see you next time.